Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Allison's Corner. With me, I have a very special guest. Can you go ahead and introduce yourself to the people, please?
Hi, I am Beth Diana Smith of Beth Diana Smith Interior Design.
Awesome. And thank you so much for joining us, Beth. We really do appreciate it. I'm someone who is a little bit challenged in the area of knowing how to, create my own space. And I know a couple people are too. And I think having somebody who knows how to do interior design would be a great way to be able to let us know. So I guess my first question for you is pretty much what inspired you to pursue a career in interior design?
It was very much by accident. I was in accounting and finance at the time. Oh my God, this was 2008. I had just started a new company.
Mhm.
And that change came up with a very large pay bump. So I was like, I'm gonna redo my home. And I had bought my home young. I closed, oh my God, like 2 weeks after my 23rd birthday.
Oh,
So
wow.
that that's that style and how I decorated at 23 was not exactly what my vibe was in 2008. So I guess I'm a true accountant personality. Like I like a process, I want to understand, I want to make a
Mhm.
spreadsheet. And I was just like doing research. And I actually started off as a professional organizer because I'm insanely organized. And as I started doing that and like having conversations with people and being inside of people's homes, it kind of naturally developed into an interest in interior design. I would say the straw that kind of broke the camel's back with that one is I was at a friend's house who, I mean, I had known him for years, and we were talking about the closets in his master bedroom. We were in his master bedroom looking at these two large closets and like what he wanted to do for organization, how we were going to
Mhm.
customize them, and talking about the different systems available. And in the corner of his bedroom, he had this. I mean, again, this was 2000. I want to say this was late 2008, now early 2009. And he had this ginormous poster of Halle Berry mounted on foam core. And when I say ginormous, I mean ginormous. I think he had like 9 foot ceilings.
Oh,
The
whoa.
Halle was so tall you couldn't like stand it straight up. You had to like angle her a little bit.
Oh,
And
oh,
I'm like,
wow.
and I was like, this is why we never meet your girlfriends. Because who are you dating that's okay with Halle Berry in your bedroom like this? And we had this whole conversation about like your home and how it's supposed to be both inspirational and aspirational. And how we were too old for him to have this Halle Berry poster mounted on foam core in his bedroom that's like 1 million feet high. And that whole conversation started like the beginning of a very big rabbit hole. The next thing I knew, I was open, changing my business to like interior design and going to design school nights and weekends. It became a whole thing.
Wow. I love that. I love how like first you started off doing organization and then like
Mm.
you went into design. I just love like the pathway because sometimes the our journey to where we are is so unique and different, and being open to the uncertainty or the unknowns is what will be able to get us to where we want to be. So I love that. I love your story. How
Thank
would you
you.
you're welcome. How would you describe your design style?
I am a self-proclaimed eclectic maximalist. I want
Mm.
all the things, which is what maximalism is, right? You believe like more is more.
Mhm.
And eclectic in the sense that there are a lot of different styles and aesthetics that I love. And no one is like simply in such a regular box, right? We go through different life experiences, we travel, we see all these things. So we start to see all these different styles. So I love to mix those styles. And and a lot of cultural influences.
Mhm.
And that's where the eclecticism comes from. So, eclectic maximalist.
Oh, I love it. I love it. What do you think is one misconception that people have about interior design overall?
People confuse interior design with interior decoration, and there's a very large difference. Interior decoration is about cosmetic changes, right?
Oh,
That's like paint and pillows.
mhm.
Interior design is about the understanding of the interior environment. And that
Mhm.
is not just, that includes interior decoration, but that's also the psychological feel of a room. It's how to address floor plan changes. That's space planning.
Mhm.
That's understanding how to mix and match and treat materials. That's about making sure that form follows function. That's understanding. I mean, I remember in design school, and I think I was in a color class, and like having to learn how to understand how our eyeball and the different portions of our eyeball reads color or
Mm.
reads light. Like it's two very, very, very different realms.
Oh, wow. Okay, wow. I'm glad you broke that down because I didn't know that there was a distinct difference, and kind of knowing that difference makes a lot of sense in the work that you're doing. Yeah. What kind of design trends do you see becoming popular within the next year? I've seen a couple of things on the social media where everybody is like all neutral and they want all the neutral palettes around their house and people are kind of getting bored with that. So, what do you think will be the next trend?
I would say I'll list the things that I think I'm excited about to see in 2025, and one
Mhm.
of those is more color. So
Yeah.
I love this color drenching trend that we've been seeing where you're literally painting like potentially the ceiling, your walls, and your trim. Your trim could be like your door casing, what's around your door, your baseboard, your crown molding. You paint it all the same color, or you could do all of that and exclude your ceiling and you're incorporating that same color and like furnishings throughout the room. That's color drenching, and I am obsessed with it. Even planning it with a current bachelor's home now. Um, you mentioned neutrals, and I feel like I don't think that's ever really going to go away. It's because some
Mhm.
people just don't love color,
Yeah.
which is fine. I'm just not one of those people. And but with that though, then you have to be really cognizant of how you use texture, or that neutral palette is going to feel more like a look and feel more like a hospital than a home.
Mhm.
Um, Another trend I'm excited about is how things are becoming more curvy and sculptural. Like, and I'm sure you know this, like a few years back, everything had an arch, right?
Mhm.
Everything had an arch. And now we're seeing like more just shape in furnishings. Like, there's this beautiful cabinet that just came out from Lulu in Georgia with a collaboration with, I think it's with Lolly Lolly. Don't quote me, I might be lying, but I think that's who it's with. And it's a simple cabinet in the sense that it's, just all wood, but the front does like this beautiful wavy curve. And that's what I mean by like sculpture, where like the furniture itself is taking shape, and that's a trend that I am absolutely here for.
Ooh, I like that. Oh, awesome. So I guess like to segue into that, how do you balance timeless design with trendy elements?
So in general, I am not a trend follower. And when I'm
Mhm.
working on a client's project, I don't even want to have a conversation about a trend. And that's because you are not a trend, right? Like
Right.
you are who you are and you love what you love, and your home should be treated the same way.
Mhm.
So if someone's, let's say I'll make something up. Let's say someone's personal style is they love the color purple.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then let's design with purple. They love a lot of art, then let's use a lot of art. Anything else outside of that, we're focusing on what you love, how you currently live, and most importantly, how you want to live in the future, like that aspirational lifestyle that you want as well. That's what we're designing for. And now, if a trend happens to be around that the client loves or inspires by, like for instance, the color drenching, they may say, "Oh, I really love this concept." I'd be like, "Let's do it."
Mm-hmm.
Let's do it because I love it too. And even if it wasn't a trend, it'd be something that I do anyway. I remember painting my bedroom all green. Ceiling was one color, all the walls and all the trim was just another shade of green. So I
Mm-hmm.
just certain things you just love, and that's what someone should focus on. And if you're going to use a trend or there's a trend, you're like, oh, I want to test it out, but I want to commit to it, do that with accessories. Like
Okay.
pillows, throws, art, decoration like vases and bowls. Don't go like if a trend, I don't know, is like boucle, that doesn't mean, buy a $12,000 boucle sofa. Trends used for like things that can easily be swapped out and not foundational pieces or like foundational things like your kitchen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, definitely. So are there any design trends that you have in mind that you wish people would like just do away with or just move away from in general?
I feel like I feel that way with a lot of trends. And I feel like all designers probably do. Like we look at something and I'm like, please don't do that. I feel like there was a few trends I just feel like I couldn't get on the bandwagon with, and that's only because of like my own personal style. Like the grand millennial trend was
Oh yeah,
not my vibe.
same.
And that's because I hate floral. Um, and I've always hated floral. And I know why I hate floral. My mama traumatized me with this big brown floral sofa growing up, and it just made me hate floral. So I rarely use it in any of my design. Um, I feel like that's the only one that really sticks out, and it's random that that one does. I feel like that just goes back to my hatred of floral.
It's just your upbringing.
Yes.
I
Traumatized, yes.
understand. I understand. So what advice would you give for someone? Because you said, when you just started out, you had wanted to just, change up your space after you had gotten a bonus at work or a promotion at work. So for anybody else who's probably like on a tight budget, what advice would you give to them if they want to change their space?
I would say you gotta shop smart. And
Mhm.
that means like, if someone has a small budget, I would I would say then focus on certain stores,
Mhm.
one, and then focus on key pieces.
Okay.
And when I say stores, I mean, you gotta go inside of Home Goods, go inside of Target. Because you can definitely find pieces there, but you gotta hunt. We've
Yeah.
all been to Home Goods. Like it's the thrill of the hunt for real. So you gotta like be patient. You can't rush the process if you want to stay within budget. Or you can rush the process, stay within budget, but it's not going to be a great design.
Mhm.
It's going to look rushed versus look curated. And looking curated is like the key to for a design to look well thought out and beautifully executed. And the other portion that I gave was like key pieces. So I'll make up a space. Like if you wanna, redo your living room, right?
Mhm.
Living rooms can price wise, those can add up because let's say you have a sofa, you have chairs, you have a coffee table, you have tables, you have lighting, you have rugs, you have art, you have decoration, maybe you want wallpaper. There are a lot of layers to that. But I would say spend your time finding like a conversation piece,
Mm,
something that someone could walk into your home and be like, oh my God, where did you get that? Or a piece that's a conversation starter. Focus on those types of pieces, and that means that you gotta do that thrill of a hunt. If you're trying to stay within a certain budget, then you gotta, you can't rush the process.
right, right. No, I understand. That's true because home goods, whoo, I get overstimulated. Every time I walk in, it's like, "I'm gonna do it today," and then I'm like, 10 minutes later, I'm walking out because 'cause I'm just like,
Right.
"Whoa." But no, I do understand, and I do, I guess I have a follow-up question to that. Do you recommend, like, going thrift shopping, like, other, like, small outlets to, like, just find those unique, cheaper pieces, but they're still good quality?
I feel like I would say in general, I'm not a thrifter, and that's
Okay.
because that's a different type of patience that I just don't have.
Mhm.
If I am buying like something that's vintage or antique, I'm likely going to somewhere that's geared more towards designers, and that's a
Mhm.
much more higher price point. Now, if you have patience, then yes, find an amazing thrift shop or vintage shop. I mean, even like here in New York, there's Housing Works, right? And they
Mhm.
have they're not just clothes, they're also home items, and they get a lot of their home items from designers or like estates. So if I was looking, like I would be going somewhere like that, somewhere where I know, oh, I know it's going to be an amazing piece at a
Mhm.
very deliciously discounted price. So I would
Mm.
just, it's the same thing. You just gotta shop smart and making sure you're going somewhere where you know you could find something at a good price point.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. So, I guess, like, when you're looking at a room, right? What are some small changes that can have a big impact in a room?
Paint.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, like the foundation of your room, let's say if you walked into a blank room, there's no furniture, right? Your foundation is always going to be your floor, your walls, and your ceiling. And
Okay.
those are always going to have a big impact. So, painting a room, paint is inexpensive. Painters necessarily aren't inexpensive. So, if you want to
Mhm.
DIY and paint, paint is a great way to do it. Just make sure you're painting with care and not painting sloppily. Um, and I would say that rugs are also can be very, very impactful to your space because it takes up a lot of space. So
Mhm.
sometimes even if when I'm designing, depending on the vibe of the room I want, I'm specifically like I want to go much lighter on a rug, I want
Right.
to go much darker on a rug, I want a rug that has a lot of color. Or like for the people who, aren't big fans of color and looking for something neutral, then I'm looking for something neutral and very textural,
Mhm.
or has like a fun shape to it. So those would be the types of things I would focus my attention on.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's good to know, at least for me, yeah. Um, so how can someone incorporate their personality into their home design?
So I want to say, so let's say the easiest scenario is that it's someone who lives by themselves.
Right.
Now,
Mhm.
if they live by themselves and you're trying to incorporate your personality, I would say the key question is what portion of your personality are you trying to incorporate
Mhm.
and why? Because, for instance, I love to travel, and
Mhm.
whenever I travel, I'm always going to bring back a piece of art, and I'm always going to get that piece of art framed.
Mm.
So I'm going to incorporate like those things because I wanted to reflect not only like who I am, but also like what I love to do. Now, would I want to incorporate, I don't know, the part of my personality that is very OCD? Probably not, because then you're going to see, Clorox wipes and bins everywhere. So it's like you have to be, I would say, strategic to figure out the part of your personality you want to include and why, and be clever in how you do that. And sometimes, like I use the art example, some people are collectors.
Mhm.
Like I accidentally started collecting teapots, and sometimes like I'll display them. That's a part of my personality, like that collector in me. So I would say, figure out which part of yourself that you want to include.
Okay. And I guess when you are meeting a client for the first time, what is the first thing you look for when designing a space for a client?
So I would say it's a bit of a recipe. It's not one specific thing.
Mhm.
So with any client, before I even schedule a call with them, they fill out my client questionnaire, and part of that questionnaire asks some personality-based questions like
Oh.
what is your career? Um, where did you grow up? Where are your favorite places to travel? What colors do you love? What colors do you hate? So I'm starting to understand them. And then during our discovery call, which is like our very, very first time we talk, you get to like read people.
Mhm.
And then when we have our consultation, which is in person, then you're not only like hearing their voice and how they speak. Now I'm taking what I learned from the client questionnaire plus that phone conversation, and now I'm seeing how they dress. I'm
Mhm.
reading their energy, and it's that recipe that helps me understand. Plus, what we talk about, like during that consultation, like what their goals are, what they're hoping for. We're talking about potential design ideas, um, all of those things, and that's what I take to first try to implement what the design should be and what I think the goals should be.
Hmm. Well, that makes sense. I love how you said you use personality-based questions because sometimes people I feel like they forget to showcase that part of themselves in their design, kind of what we were talking about earlier, because I'm really big on your home is your sanctuary and your home should be
Mm-hmm.
a reflection of self. And for me, it's like trying to figure out, okay, well, this is how I want to feel in my space and I want that interpreted to people when they walk in. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
definitely. I get that. Okay, cool. So I guess another question is how do you deal with clients who have a very different taste from you?
I mean, so it's a bit of a mixed bag, and I would say a lot of times clients come to me now for my aesthetic. But for instance, I have a client, and she loves herself some floral. And when we were and when we were working on her home, I had to be very cognizant of that. So I tried to find florals that were not the traditional floral.
Mhm.
Like, let's do something that's more floral with a twist,
Okay.
or maybe is more, tree based than, flower based. Or when you think of like British florals, how they're like a simpler floral, like let's do some of those. Um, so, at the end of the day, I have to be cognizant, like that's the client. I don't have to live there.
Mhm.
My goal is just to make sure that I can take what their loves are and create a space that is thoughtful and speaks to them.
Mhm.
So that's how I have to view those types of cases. So when she, wanted to incorporate floral, I was like, that's not a problem. Let's do it. Here are some amazing florals that I still, like. There's a few that I ended up also loving. Um, and it's just part of the job.
Right, right. No, I get it. Um, and I guess how do you approach if somebody wants you to design for a small space? How would you go about that?
Um, I guess it depends on what you mean because technically there's no real difference between a small space and a big space,
Okay.
except that for a small space, you have to be a little bit more clever. It's actually harder to design a small space, but the concepts are still the same. There's no big changes. We just have to focus more on, the must-haves,
Mm-hmm.
and there's going to be likely lesser wants because there's not enough space to do everything that you would want to do.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So you've been doing this for quite some time now. I guess what is some advice that you have for someone who wants to get into interior design?
I would say be realistic about what the career is. Because I would say less than 10% of what I do is creativity. I
Mm,
would say 90% is project management, construction drawings, specifications. And that's what interior design actually is. If someone wants to just do creativity, then that's probably mean they want more of the cosmetic, and that means they need to be looking at interior decoration and not interior
hmm.
design.
Yeah, yeah. And for someone who is just starting out, what are some tools and resources that they should consider?
I would say there are a lot of online resources. Like Business of Home is it's like almost like the New York Times of the design industry. Like that's where you go for information. Um, I mean, one of the great things about social media is that you can find every single designer, I would say like almost 100% of designers, I'm sure, has some
Mhm.
type of Instagram presence. And that's great for, finding out who the designers are, finding out what they're working on, because that's a great way to also understand some of the behind the scenes. And a lot of designers do that either in their feed or in their stories.
Hmm. Okay. And um how big or like how important is formal education? So going to design school versus having hands-on experience. How important are either of those in the field?
So there are a lot of amazing interior designers who do not have a formal education. Let me first say
Mhm.
that. However, how I learn, again, finance and accounting girl, I
Mhm.
like technical education. So for me or someone who wants to work in my firm, formal education is kind of a must-have. But then keeping in mind that school does not nor will not teach you everything,
Right.
you'll absolutely need some hands-on experience.
Right. And I guess my last question, what are some interior designers that you really love their work or are influenced by, or you see and you're like, wow, they did a really good job. Which ones would you think?
Oh man, there are probably a lot. Um, and funny enough, so I was at High Point Market recently, and there was a designer, and I feel terrible that her name is eluding me at the moment. And she designed this Moroccan inspired space for a company
Mm,
called Bernhardt. And I mean, I was at High Point almost a month ago, and I'm still thinking about that space. So, to that designer, I'm sorry that your name is eluding me at the moment, but any designer who can I mean, this woman had 50 plus different fabrics in this
mm,
one room, and it blended together like peanut butter and jelly. Like it was an amazing space. Any designer who incorporates pattern, texture, and color, I'm always going to absolutely love because that's my personal recipe. But I love the work of Sheila Bridges. Um, I mean, who doesn't? like love Kelly Wearstler, because she does like that very like abstract yet semi-soulful design. Like it's never going to be cold, it's always going to be visually interesting. Um, who else can I think of that I absolutely love? I was not mentally prepared for that question, but not everyone is coming to mine top of my oh, but you know who else I love? There's a designer named Raymond Boozer, and I love his use of color.
Why does that name sound so familiar?
His company name is Apartment 48. He's New York based. He uses color really, really beautifully. And I just absolutely love that.
Wow.
There's also Erin Shakur. She's based out of Chicago. Love her work. She also really beautifully uses color.
Mhm.
There's Linda Hazlitt. She's based out of California. Um, she's a really talented designer. I like how everything that she does feels very well curated and very like thoughtful. Like every single detail, I just kind of want to like touch. Um, I think that's everyone like quickly top of mind.
No, I do follow Kelly on social media, so when you said her, I was like, "Oh, I love it." She's like, if I could curate my own, like, dream house, like,
Hmm.
yeah, I agree, I love her work. But yeah, but Beth, if you don't mind me asking, tell the people where they can find you, if they wanna work with you, if they wanna know more about you, tell them, girl, tell them all.
So my website is bethdianasmith.com, and I'm everywhere on social media at Beth Diana Smith. I am very easy to find.
Perfect. And thank you so much for coming today. I really do appreciate it. And for everyone else listening, God bless. Have an amazing day. And thank you for listening to Allison's Corner.